Welcome to the Nonprofit Podcast Network. Our purpose and passion are simple: to highlight the incredible nonprofits that make our communities stronger. Each episode is a chance for these organizations to tell their story in their words, sharing not just what they do, but why it matters to the people they serve, to their supporters, and to all of us who believe in the power of community. Through podcasting, we hope to amplify their voices, inspire connection, and give them one more tool to impact the hearts of donors, partners, and neighbors alike. Our work is made possible through the generous support of our partners. Cap Trust, offering fiduciary advice for endowments and foundations. Western Health Advantage, a local not-for-profit health plan that believes healthcare is more than coverage. It's about caring. CORE, executive leadership and comprehensive support services. They work in it so you can work on it. And Five Star Bank, a local trusted advisor to community nonprofits for over 25 years. Our episode sponsor is Sacramento Venture Philanthropy, a community of generosity combining people, expertise, and capital for good. For 25 years, Roberts Family Development Center has been doing exactly what its name promises: strengthening families by surrounding children and parents with education, opportunity, resources, and a genuine sense of belonging. In this episode, I'm joined by co-founder and CEO Derrell Roberts and Bryant Wyatt, who leads the organization's family support services. We talk about how Derrell and his wife, Tina, built the organization around the extended family support they experienced growing up, and how that philosophy still shapes everything Roberts Family Development Center does today. From year-round after-school programming and the highly sought-after Freedom School, to mentoring, mental health services, housing assistance, and parent education, the organization uses young people as the entry point for supporting the entire family. Its work now reaches 7 sites, serving hundreds of young people while employing dozens of full-time staff members and college students. We also look toward the organization's future, including plans for a new technology center that will give young people practical exposure to the skills and careers shaping tomorrow. This is a conversation about family, education, leadership, succession, and the determination required to serve a community for a quarter century. Most of all, it's about making sure every family that encounters Roberts Family Development Center knows one thing: somebody cares. Derrell Roberts, Bryant Wyatt, welcome to the Nonprofit Podcast Network.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having me. And it has taken us a little while, hasn't it, Derrell? I'm thrilled to have you both in here.
We're happy to be here.
The organization is now 25 years old. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And you co-founded it with your wife, Tina.
Yep.
Very recognizable names in the community. Tell us a little bit about what it was about family, your Roberts Family Development Center, that got you started.
Well, thanks, Jeff. First of all, appreciate you inviting us. It took us a long time because in some ways I'm always busy. Today, I was fortunate to have Brian come because originally the wife was going to be here and she had something she forgot on her calendar. So I said, okay, we can't cancel this time. So we're going to have to go ahead and make this work. So I'm representing really Tina Roberts.
And interestingly, I just met Bryant at Fairy Tale Town for an event.
Yes.
Next thing I know, he's sitting in my studio.
There you go.
I meet him and 2 days later, he's here. I've known you for 30 years.
It takes a little while.
It's taken us a little while to get here.
Well, we were together 2 weeks ago.
That's right.
There you go, the ALF event.
That's right.
That's our common bond.
There we go.
You're a great class 10.
So, Dale, you just said the great class 10.
I did.
To the great class 30?
I know. Class X.
Triple X.
Triple X.
There we go. We have another thing in common.
Yeah.
So tell us about the organization. What brought it here?
So I think everything has to do with the families who raised us, and I have to say families with an S, because both Tina and I come from a background where multiple families raised us. For her, it was her biological mom in Columbus, Georgia, to her dad, who relocated her and her older brother to North Carolina, then to Pennsylvania, where she, through her stepmom, Miss Alice. Well, she didn't call her stepmom. Her second mom, Miss Alice. Miss Alice became the Kool-Aid House, and she was that parent for the neighbors. And I came from the housing projects in New Orleans. But first of all, New Orleans itself is a family town. And I have grandparents who had 12 kids, who 3 or 4 of them stayed in New Orleans, and they became the extended family, aunts and uncles and cousins who I grew up with. And because of that relationship, my grandparents played a pivotal role in my coming to Los Angeles. So I go from there to New Orleans to Los Angeles, where I went to college at Chapman, and every step was family related. My sister-in-law Kathy went to Chapman College, so I went to Chapman. I had cousins who were at USC, so I went to graduate school at USC, and I went to DC, where I had family there. Came to Sacramento. Now Sacramento, interesting enough, had no family, but now I have family here. Robert's Family Development Center really sprouted out of the concept of extended and biological family that helped you along the way. So the joke is that it actually was called the Edmund St. Cyr Roney Howard Family Development Center. It really was. Go to Secretary of State, and a little lady behind the counter literally looked at me and said, "Oh, baby, that name's too long." Kept going to them, just put the name in as our nonprofit. She said, "What's your name?" I said, "My last name is Roberts." She said, "Okay, we're going to call it the Roberts Family Development Center." Well, no, ma'am, you can't do that because people are going to think it's an ego trip. Baby, people are going to think that anyway. So we're not going to worry about people. And it was literally, that's how we started. And it really became the idea of creating an environment where families felt comfortable. And today I think that's our stick. People feel comfortable, feel a part of what we do. And we probably feel a little different than other people, no matter what we're doing at whatever site we're at. It's the thought of family.
And we're going to get into that too. That's an interesting story that I bet a lot of people don't know.
Yeah.
How it got to be Robert's
Family Development.
Development. So it pre-existed as a different organization.
Well, by vision, the name was going to be Edmund St. Cyr, Roney Howard. Edmund St. Cyr, my grandfather out of Los Angeles. Roney Howard, my wife's grandmother out of Georgia. That's we're going to honor Robert's.
As you saw it.
Yeah. Edmund St. Cyr, Roney Howard Family Development Center. I even had initial ESARH, Family Development Center, because the family meant everything to me.
Yeah.
And when we got together, Tina and I recognized the importance that family would play in our lives. Well, and it has.
Thank goodness for somebody at the city to say, that's not going to work.
She said, that's a little long, baby. That's what it was.
Well, it's wonderful. And what a name you've created for yourself and the organization.
Yeah, I think so.
And, I look at the website and I see all the programs you offer and the depth of those programs. Tell us about give us an overview, so to speak, of what they look like, and then we'll get into a couple of them more specifically.
We located in North Sacramento, where we purchased the old Bethel Lutheran Church building that later on was called the Sons of Norway. So Norwegians, families who lived in the area, bought the old church in the 60s from Bethel Lutheran Church, which it had been since before that, the 40s. And they bought it and they created an environment where their children were raised. So the Norwegian families used that community center as the hub for their neighbors and their activities. They had activities. They had lutefisk parties, the Norwegian delicacy that smelled like stinky fish and chitlins. It did. Dear Lord, that was the smell that we had in the old annex, our present computer cafe. But the old church was Bethel Lutheran, and the house that we have some of our administrative activities, that was the old pastor's home, and later the caretaker's home. So over time, that area of town, we've used North Sacramento as our base to provide Robert Family Development Center. Traditionally started with education activities, because Tina and I both believe that education is the foundation. And from where we came in the South, education was the great equalizer. So we use that even today as a way to connect our kids and our families. Because if I can get parents to understand the importance of education, no matter how well they did or didn't do in school, just look at your children, try to emphasize that first and build off of that, everything else, values, morals, um, talents, gifts. All those things will come with education being part of that foundation.
And starting, obviously, with the child.
Oh, yeah.
But the child is a part of that family.
Yep.
And the more you can encompass the family into that process, the better that child tends to do as well.
And that's what it is. And we really saw that as the simple approach to what we saw growing up worked. If we had parents engaged in whatever it was for kids, usually parents wanted the best for their kids. Every parent wants the best, wants better for their kids than they got for themselves. So that being said, we went about the business of including the parent in whatever we're doing. Education. Come on, we have a monthly parent meeting to make sure you know what's going on education-wise. Not every parent uses that for that purpose, or we even do free dinner. We say free dinner because we want to make sure you don't have to cook that night when we have the parent meeting. But use that as a way to connect you to what we're doing. Guest speakers, including folks like Bryant, who handles our family support services, bring in what we offer to families within Roberts. Those services that we provide, we offer that as information for their regular parent meeting. Whether it goes from family support services to finance workshops, it goes to information on savings, information on investing, information on mental health services that are available. All those things that we think people need to hear and see, we try to bring that to the table once a month for parents. So we do that as well.
Once a month?
Yeah, because the whole idea is to get parents connected to what's happening to their kids.
Okay. In the element of doing all that, first of all, that's a lot of work once a month.
It is.
How many people do you usually have attend?
Oh, anywhere from 10, 15 folks, sometimes as small as 5, sometimes as many as 20.
Sure.
Depends on the topic, depends on how much effort we put into getting parents there. Because some of it includes getting the staff committed to making that work.
Sure.
And that's a different take on people with employment now. I grew up in an era where doing extra was just part of life.
Yep.
Today's young employees looking at job a little different.
I'm looking at Bryant over there going, yeah, maybe a little bit. So as one of those people, Bryant, what do you think?
Just back to that same question about connecting families. Well, I mean, okay, well, to answer the question regarding the importance of connecting families, we know that we utilize youth as kind of the entry point to the family, right? Because we believe in serving the whole family holistically. And so, getting families to be a part of that setting is very important. That's how we make sure families are informed of resources that are offered, opportunities that are available in the community, keep them informed of what's happening politically in the community, things like that. So those settings are very important to what we do overall as an organization. But to answer the question about my generation and those coming up, yeah, there's a little bit of I think a different idea of what we do. But I think one of the things that we always talk about, even in our staff meetings, is that this isn't just a job. If you just want a job, this isn't the work for you. Like this is hard work. This isn't about numbers and a paycheck. I mean, that comes with it. But
Sure.
There are lives and there's young people, there's families that are connected to the work that we do. So we have to be very intentional in the stuff that we do to make sure that our families receive the best from us.
And Derrell, in the programs, what's the most popular? I mean, tell us a little bit about Freedom School.
So Freedom School, probably that visible piece that people hear about, especially now, summer months especially. But our after-school services are the services that most people get to know us first with.
All year long.
Whether it be all year round. So our after-school services are typically at our center, but we also go and have contracts with school districts to serve on school campuses. So in Robla, we're at Main Avenue Elementary School, Taylor Street Elementary School, and Glenwood. And the Natomas school district, or at H. Allen Heights Elementary School District. And each of those might serve anywhere from 30, 40, 50 to 160 kids at H. Allen Heights. Grant High School, there's anywhere from 60 to 100 kids we touch every day, you know, in terms of after school setting. But typically those same kids hang with us year round. So you find that those same kids are staying out of trouble, doing well, doing better in school, or seeing opportunities that they wouldn't have seen otherwise. Tomorrow they're going to Folsom College. Last week they were at in San Francisco at the Valkyries Arena, and we had our Freedom School summer finale there, our day of social action. And Brian mentioned politics is an important part because Freedom School is really about the Freedom Riders era. We take that and the vision of college students working with young people and working with the community. And we use that vision that was created by Marian Wright Edelman with the Children's Defense Fund, our national partnership, and we make that what our kids focus on. So today it happened to be the Maggie Carell, the assemblywoman from our area. She was the read aloud guest this morning. Our read aloud guest at another campus was Mr. Van Buren, the music director at Grant High School, the Drumline, the internationally known Grant Drumline. Then, you know, another place is Dr. Williams, political scientist out of Sac State University. Those are the people we put in front of our kids because we want them to be exposed. I'm going to tell you, one of the things that people don't realize is many communities that are considered at risk and under-resourced are those that don't have exposure to the things that we just take for granted when we don't live in those neighborhoods. Heck, why you worried about that? That's not a problem for us. Our park's always kept nice. Our park is always, our schools are always kept up to date. Well, if you grew up in a neighborhood where you're at an older school, renovation at Twin Rivers, man, is a big thing. And to the credit of the outgoing superintendent, Steve Martinez, that's what's been happening at Twin Rivers for the last 5 years. Updating facilities, building new facilities, building spaces for our kids, exposure opportunities to quality resources for our kids. All those things matter.
Oh, and it makes a statement to not only the kids, but the community at large, too.
It does.
Okay, somebody cares.
Yes. Somebody cares about that person or that community, so you too should be an investor.
Right.
See, people don't realize many things that happen in our city happen when people look at where do I want to invest next? Where do I want to not just make money, but making money, of course. I said, where do we want to enhance what's happening? Downtown rail yards, you look at it, trust me, it's going to start coming down Del Paso Boulevard. So people there, we often tell them, hold on to your property for a few minutes so that when you sell it, it's worth something. Because it is worth something.
Yeah.
You know, but also start looking at and it does not have to be simply apartment complexes, but apartment complexes throughout our city are popping up. West Sac, Natomas, you name it, apartment complexes are popping up. And if you don't believe me, all you got to do is go down. What's the street? Bryant, Silver Eagle runs into. Is that Truxell or San Juan? San Juan. Go out San Juan, old San Juan going like you're going towards the airport and look to your right, your left, and see all the apartment complexes.
Everywhere.
Yeah. So, you know, that's just what's happening. That's because of the need for housing and the fact that not as many young people can afford to move into new homes the way we once did.
Well, and the beauty of that, too, it creates jobs.
Yes.
It creates opportunities. And back to your point of the children seeing the people engaged, that they can do this, too.
Oh, yeah.
Because the people look like them, they speak like them, they came from communities like them, and they say, hey, I never knew that was an opportunity for me.
We make sure that our kids see staff that looks like them.
Yeah.
That came from not just their neighborhoods, from other neighborhoods and chose to come back home. You know, Brian went to, where'd you go to school?
Chico State, CSU Chico.
Left, came back. You know, his son goes to
Alabama A&M.
Nah, his son may not ever come back, but we have a couple of Alabama A&M graduates who come back to Roberts Family Development Center. After being exposed, after seeing other things, they now help us lead Roberts.
Right. 7 sites. You're on 7 different sites.
Right now, we're at 7 different sites. Might be an 8th site if the Washington School District superintendent is listening. Superintendent, we're looking forward to continue our partnership with you after this summer.
That was a shout out.
Oh yeah,
yes,
definitely,
absolutely.
Dr. Hilda's doing an exceptional job. and we'd love to stay as a partner year-round there. We would.
And we do appreciate Dr. Hildred. By the way, class 30 ALF.
Sure. I'm going to have to remind myself. That's another entry. Another reason to say, hey, class XXX.
That's right.
XXX, all right.
Is there a program that you would say has the greatest demand on it? Is it the after-school program? What might you say is the one that you see the most influence from the community on?
I think that, absolutely our expanded learning programming, Freedom School high demand program. We usually have long wait lists after we complete enrollment. I, primarily spend my time on the family support side. So what we're also seeing is an increase of folks who need financial assistance. So we do have some programs that kind of help, especially around homelessness and housing. Trying to avoid homelessness. We're seeing a lot of demand there as well. So we have some program that's able to assist there. So, and then another one that I'd say I'm seeing an increase in demand is for mentorship. A lot of families are expressing need for mentorship for their young people. Just that additional support. Just have another person to kind of exposing them to some different folks. Marion Wright Edelman said, "You can't be what you can't see."
Yep.
And we're trying to going back to that thing of exposure, trying to expose our kids to some people that they can aspire to be like. So I think that's those things are important, and those are in high demand right now.
And you have a threshold. There's only so many people you can serve. You can't. It's not unlimited.
Well, it's unlimited if you're saying the amount of funding. So it is limited by amount of funding. But the reality is, even Freedom School and our after school services, others can do it. If you're willing to commit, we commit and do the work to where we're willing to do it, because our Freedom School is our culture. We do families. That's what Freedom School is about. Freedom School is about, not making your kids robots, but instead giving them an opportunity to think freely. So others can do that. You just have to be willing to go through the process and make that commitment. We don't do 1 to 20. So most after school summer programs do 1 to 20. We're 1 to 10. So if you're willing to fight for the funding to be able to do that, or take funding that you might have put to something else, put it toward that, then you can do that. You just got to be willing to make that sacrifice. Same thing we ask for kids.
Yeah, that's better than a classroom.
Yeah. During the summer, we're talking about a college student or a sophomore in college.
Yeah.
Put 20 kids in front of them. It's just babysitting.
Which is
best. At best. So we just don't want that. We want to train them how to connect with our kids. 10 students that you're working with during the summer, during the school year, it might be 15. But also know that we have processes and we have ways to bring high schoolers in to help. We have ways to get other college students through work study and other ways to help both the CSU schools, the UC system, as well as the community college system have fellowship programs now. So we take some of those fellows and put them with our staff, and they learn to work with our kids. We have mentors. Bryant mentioned that, outside, and also paid mentors. We hire college students to come in as paid mentors. See, we recognize people are not maybe don't have the same reasons for doing things as we once did, but we know it still needs to be done. So everybody needs a mentor.
See, that's great. That's great to hear, and that's a perfect segue to the next question of relationships in the community that you have with other organizations collaboratively. You don't survive 25 years without
having
deep collaborative connections.
I think part of what we have had at different times. Let's just sort of last 5 years. Last 5 years, Golden One as a fiscal partner has helped us become a better community partner. What I mean by that is we've been able to put aside some of the dollars that Golden One gives us, and it's allowed us to sponsor children events, sponsor the drumline at Grant, sponsor and help our football program become better. Our not Little League, but our Junior Pacers, or our Sacramento Saints football program, or our cheerleader program, or our Pacerettes. Those are things that we're able to support as a partner. We are looked on, and to be honest with you, it's not always the best place to be at as a nonprofit, because, you know, people give us dollars and they have to believe that we're doing it for the right reasons. They trust us that if we're spending money with the football program, there's a reason we're doing that. It's because we're trying to save as many of our kids, even the ones that are not going to be Division I, Division II football players.
Right.
We still want them to think about the importance of education. So our supporting that program says to the kids, the community, our Roberts cares, and we're part of their bigger extended family. So that's who we are, and that's what we have become. Partnerships include the Sacramento Urban League, Mutual Assistance Network, Stanford Settlement. Let's see who else we have.
Neighborhood Wellness.
Neighborhood Wellness. Those are just the organizations that, through Golden One, that partnership has allowed us to become stronger as partners. We're still working on it too.
And I know Golden One made a huge commitment to that Del Paso Heights area. With, literally, that's pretty much that is their commitment for Sacramento. It all went there.
The CRA commitment. And to be honest with you, that has made others more sensitive to our neighborhood. The Regional Foundation has begun helping. Brian mentioned our work around homeless, or work about parents who have emergency needs. We've had anonymous donors come from the Regional Foundation and say Del Paso Heights matters, North Sac matters. We have 3 or 4 organizations that we see you're doing the work. Here's some additional fund. Here's $10,000, and for a nonprofit to have $10,000 that you can put to something
unrestricted,
that's important, or if it's restricted, it's to an area that you have as a need. They don't tell you how to spend it, but just spend in that area. So whether it's food or facility and rental assistance or something like that, you have it for that purpose. Problem is that's limited, so it runs out, and unfortunately, people have more needs than we often have money to give to them.
Well, you're doing a great job of just leading right into the next question, which is funding.
We'll continue the conversation with Derrell Roberts and Bryant Wyatt of the Roberts Family Development Center right after a few brief messages from those who make our program possible.
I'm James Beckwith, President and CEO of 5 Star Bank. We're dedicated to supporting nonprofit organizations who advocate for the strength, resilience, and vitality of those they serve. When nonprofit organizations thrive, our community does too. By supporting the Nonprofit Podcast Network, 5 Star Bank is amplifying the voices and meaningful impact of our nonprofit community. We're 5 Star Bank, a trusted nonprofit partner. How can we help you?
We are really excited to be part of the family and contribute to the work that you all are doing. CORE provides fractional and interim executive services, along with comprehensive back-office solutions that go into our client sites and do the work to give them the capacity they need in order to move through transitions, whether that's planned or unplanned. Or companies also work with our accounting and finance, back-office solutions, human resources, technology, and administration. The reason why our back office solutions add value is because we save them time and money, anywhere from 20 to 30% of what they would spend on that back office solution. We work in it so they can actually work on it. CXORE.com, and contact me directly at DTEAT@CXORE.com.
If you're interested in learning more about how CORE may help your organization, visit CXORE.com.
Hello, this is Scott Thomas with Cap Trust in our Sacramento office. I specialize in working with local nonprofits and associations. Annually, we survey private and public nonprofit organizations across the country to better understand challenges they see in today's environment. In our more recent survey, we heard concerns about proper board governance, mission-aligned investment, and how to implement alternative investments. If you would like a copy of the survey or to discuss your organization, look me up, Scott Thomas at captrust.com.
I'm thrilled to have Western Health Advantage partnering with us as they do so much to support so many nonprofit agencies in our community. As a truly local health plan, you'll find individual and family options, employer options, plans for CalPERS and Medicare Advantage. From medical services to pharmacy, health and wellness support, as well as behavioral health care, Western Health Advantage has a plan that fits what you need. As an employer, for profit or nonprofit business, individual or family, you can find more at westernhealth.com.
Hi, I'm Brad Squires, CEO of Sacramento Venture Philanthropy. For more than a decade, SVP has brought together local donors, business leaders, and nonprofit changemakers to do philanthropy differently. Through pooled funding, hands-on mentorship, and programs like Fast Pitch and 100X, SVP helps nonprofits build real, long-term capacity, not just short-term solutions. If you're looking to go beyond writing the check and want to use your experience, your voice, your leadership to create a lasting impact and have a lot of fun doing it, now is the time to join SVP. Learn more about becoming a partner at svpsacramento.org.
How is the organization funded?
$6.5 million budget this year coming up, $7 million
Congratulations.
budget.
That is a huge amount of money.
We employ 40 plus staff members that are full-time. We employ another 50 to 60 part-time college students typically that work with our kids in the after-school setting. But as an economic partner in our region, we try to look at ourselves as a business that employs and serves and provides support to our community. Track record of success has been rewarded by contracts with the school districts. Our track record of success has been rewarded.
So basically fee for service.
Yeah.
So you're not liable to some of this federal grant money, which I'm sure there's a little bit of it.
We've had some challenges, but not as many as others.
Yeah, that's great.
And I think it's fortunate that we have had those relationships with the school districts, hoping that it continues. But more importantly, we need to just stay successful. That's the partnership we're talking to this college student. Look, show up to work, be on time, do the things that need to be done, because we are expected to make sure our kids are doing well. Our kids stay engaged in school. Some kids come to school just to see the after-school team leader. I mean, it may sound crazy, but they do that. And if that's the reason they come to school, so be it.
It's better than some options that they might choose.
Is that it?
Otherwise. So, Bryant, from your perspective, 4 years you've been with the organization now?
4 years.
Versus 25. And I want to come back to you in a second. 4 is relatively new, so you see it in this iteration. What do you feel from the community? What do you, and I mean it really from a visceral feeling standpoint, not some just, we see this, but.
See, I just happen to live in the community that I serve in. So I live in the Paso Heights community as well. And so for me, it's nice to, again, working on family support services side, assisting families with, things like mental health services, again, connect you to utility support, other financial supports, case management, things like that. And so for me, it's always nice when I go to I encounter our community members at the store, and then they have great things to say. They're always, waving at me, saying hi and things like that. That's always good. Just to know that, we're making an impact to where when they see me in public, it's a positive, interaction where they're thankful. And I think that, I have been with Roberts Family Development Center for 4 years, but I'm familiar with Roberts Family Development Center for at least 22 of the 25 years, just through connection that Mr. Roberts has with my father and things like that. And so RFDC, has been, I think will continue to be for ages, to be a pillar in the community, because again, it's all about the family. It's all about serving the family, connecting family to resources, connecting family to education, and just trying to wrap around and support the families in our community.
And it's funny, I've been here long enough to be able to hear Brian say, man, I've known you 20 plus years. And I have, through his dad.
Yes.
So, and I have a relationship like that because I've been here in Sacramento for 40 years. I became it because of graduate school, never left. But those relationships, whether it be at the Capitol, whether it be in Oak Park, whether it be through basketball, through education, those opportunities were things that I was afforded in my own development. So for me, it becomes natural to happily say, "Ooh, I got Brian Wyatt." There's an understanding that he gets it, and I jokingly said to him, "He's a PK, preacher's kid."
Correct.
Well, there's a real good side to that, because there's no question he knows what we're trying to do at the heart of what we do. So, and that's the part where for us trying to get young people as the new leaders, because I'm not just talking about young people, I'm talking about future leaders.
The right people.
Yeah, and it's future leaders, because we have, right now at our place, we have at least 5 to 8 staff members who are former legacy kids. They been with us since elementary school. junior high school. And then 25, 30 graduated from college, still graduating from college. They're now in leadership roles. So they get us from that, 10, 15 years ago. This morning, while Maggie Krell is reading to the kids, there was a little girl who was up in the front. Her dad was one of the first 13 kids to ever participate with Robert Fan Development Center 25 years ago. There's Santana Moody. There's his baby girl up front, and Brian's baby girl is there at another site, and it's just that, and it's recognizing that that's the family that we always talked about being to others, the extended family, so that there is a common value, common understanding, common language we use. We don't do a whole lot of cussing. We don't do a whole lot of yelling, because it's not necessary to communicate.
Let me ask you something. Over the course of the 25 years of the organization, different from Bryant's perspective, what have you seen? What's changed in the community to where it is today?
It's interesting. Every 5 or 10 years, organizationally, we've had to change because our community has changed. The needs might have increased, so we had to up our game, or we had to be more consistent providers of services. We had to be ready to pivot when COVID came along. We had to be ready to expand when No Child Left Behind came along, 10 years before that.
That's right.
Each of those steps gave us an ability as an organization to improve based on the needs of not just the community, but the organizations that we're partnering with. Certainly, school districts are looking for partners to work with. When the Fed said, "Oh, well, no, we're going to give you all that money back," but now you need to make sure that you are doing the job that teachers don't want to do: after-school programs, summer programs. So we stand in that space where the need is. So we've been ready to do that. But I'll also tell you, even the darkest days, we had to learn from tough times. So you go back 5 years ago, we got beat up. Some of it was political because we were looking for the city to spend money on youth development. And I still will argue with that that's the way to go. Developing more, investing more in our young people,
in the children, yes,
in general, just what's needed, because prevention is key. It's all the dollars you spend after the fact is just that, after the fact dollars. If you can prevent some of the challenges, some of the ills that we talk about having to deal with, in family support services and others, if we can do that up front and deal with them and make sure that our kids are ready, our families are ready, our communities are ready, that to me is the better approach. Now, when we were once attacked 5 years ago, one of the things we had to do is just admit the fact we had to strengthen our back of the house. So we're a full-time director of finance now and a part-time staff member to work with her. As an organization, as you grow, not just the community, not just the services, but the organization itself needed to grow. In order for us to keep quality people, we had to pay more money.
It's a business.
It's a business. You want quality folks to stay with you. We want Brian to stay another 6 years, so that 10 years down the line, whether I'm there or Ms. Robinson, and we won't be there. We won't. We might well know 3 years from now.
Looking at you at 10 years. You still got it in you.
No. It's not about me having it in me. I think it's about time for somebody else to take that to the next level.
Different perspective.
Yeah, and that's it.
Yep.
And it has to be that because, you got to remember, if I am 20 years plus older than Brian, that means I'm 30, I'm 20 there, I'm 40 years older,
yes,
youngest staff member. And
yep,
sometimes 50 years older than the high schoolers.
Yep.
So at what point do you recognize your ability to be as effective as you once were? It's time for somebody else to take on.
Back to a funding question. If budget was not an option, if somebody says, "Hey, I want to see you take off North Sacramento, Del Paso Heights. Here's a blank check, Derrell. Tell me what you would do with it."
We want to build a tech hub, tech center. The future is technology, and our kids need to understand it and be able to embrace it through actual practical experience. So we recently bought the property next door to the warehouse that we've been parking our vans at, and we're going to take that and make that a 11 to 12,000 square foot tech center. We have some seed money that we got from the federal government through Congressman Ami Bera. we're looking at funding from a few sources to be able to raise up to $12 million over the next 3 years to build that. And that again becomes part of my I'm out of here
I just
card.
heard that 3
Yeah.
years get tied
Yeah.
together there, Bryant.
There's a
Now
reason.
I see.
There's a reason. And part of what it is understanding, not just for myself, but for everybody else, that it is important that we talk about the future and who's going to lead our organization in the future. Can't be me. Can't be my wife. We brought it to this space. Now we need the Bryans and the others that are there to decide this is what I want to do.
Correct.
Because this is what I want to do, but it ain't easy.
No.
It ain't easy. You know, every 5 years that I'm telling you about, 5 years, I had to grow my behind up as a leader, as a man, as a person, as a believer, as a day-to-day operator of real stuff. I couldn't be about bullshit.
Right.
Good. Had to be real.
And for real.
Yes.
For real, because it's serious.
Oh, no. And people had to see that. And people, whether they understand me, it's fine, but they have to say he's serious about it.
Yeah.
Whatever he's doing, I don't know what they're doing exactly, but they've been doing it for 25 years.
Right.
And except for that one time, they have no other knocks against them that says they don't know what they're doing.
Right.
So, and we learn. You know, each step we learn.
Well, that's back to that get serious part.
Oh, yeah. But you also have to bring people around you who are serious about the work, educated, hardworking, understanding. You know, it's not a 9 to 5.
So you're on your way with this tech center already.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we closed the property deal with Golden One, a partnership that we have with them. We closed the property deal. We have architects lined up. We're doing the property surveillance right now.
Yep.
We're about to tear down the fence, a part of the fence. We won't tear the whole fence down, but we tear part of the fence down to begin having access to the lot. And we even were looking at the apartment complex next to it and saying maybe we can buy that at some point as well. But those are the things that will keep me excited for the next 3 years.
And that's where those collaborative partnerships come in too, where somebody says, hey, we'll work with you on the apartment building because that's what we do.
We do. Yep.
You know?
And it becomes that.
Yeah.
And as you ask us about partnerships, I think we have been blessed to have financial partners. We've been blessed to have school district partners. We've been blessed to have church partners. We've been blessed to have thought partners.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been quite a ride, but it's been one that I really have felt good about. Some sleepless nights, but there are a lot of times when when you in a place and somebody says, Mr. Roberts, this is my baby girl. I was telling about the time I played basketball at the Salvation Army, or the time you took us to San Francisco and or took us down to Chapman College or to a Dodger game or Angels game, and you start going back in time. Oh, that was a long time ago. Yeah, and realize, man, that was 30 years ago we did that. Or, you have a kid at the Agent Sports Association who's running it now who says, Mr. Roberts, I started this with you at the Salvation Army. Okay. And we realize.
Aren't those rewarding? Yeah. Aren't those some of the most rewarding things? And I'm sure even today, Bryant, you see some of it in 4 years, but you don't see a generation of it yet.
No, not yet.
Which is really the neat part of it.
So today, as we look at whatever we're doing, including the tech lab, put a tech hub in North Sacramento, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
How's it going to happen? I'm not sure right now, but I know we have a strategy, a plan. But it's the same strategy and plan. 25 years ago when we started the center, a lot of that thought, the names that I had on a piece of paper, only 2 or 3 of them really got involved with it. But we're still here. So the names I have on the paper today about a tech hub or a tech lab, they may be the people that pull us through. But I can tell you one thing, we're going to do it. And 3 years from now, we're going to do it.
And there are so many business successes. And I equate nonprofits to businesses.
Yeah, they're businesses.
Just a different tax status.
That's it. That's all it is.
And you look and they go, I didn't know how I was going to make it. I just knew I was going to make it work. I figured I had the right pieces in place.
Yeah.
Bryant, from your perspective, what does that look like when you hear Derrell talking like that and you're going, well, wait a minute. You mean you're not quite sure how it's going to happen? How does that sound to you in terms of confidence going forward?
I'm a person of faith. That's one thing. And number two, I've seen the work that we do. I've seen its effectiveness, and I just believe that's going to continue. And then also I've seen Mr. Roberts' work. and just how intentional he is in the work that he does and how like tireless he is. I don't understand or know how he finds the strength to do all that he does, but he does. Um, but yeah, I believe that it's going to happen. We're going to continue to work. We're going to get better. We're going to continue to grow. That's what I believe.
Derrell, you got the right guy sitting across from me.
Well, part of it though, honestly, Brian,
that was an answer I was hoping to hear.
Brian is one who gets it. When enough people say we
gets it, it's such a key few words, right?
When we are at it, when we're gonna make it work, when they own that, man, it's so much easier.
It works. You figure it out.
Yeah.
You figure it out.
That's all you need. A bunch of people who are willing to put in and make it we.
Right.
Because if we can do it, oh yeah, it's doable.
Give me a story. You've kind of aligned a few throughout the conversation of maybe an individual that you saw come through the program, maybe even a little more challenged in their lifestyle. And here they are today, somebody of significance, whether in the community or just leadership somewhere else.
I've been at it so long, and so many years. There's so many people and individuals that I can say that about who are leading the city, leading the county, who are leading nonprofits, and I mean that.
Yes.
Who are leading significant movements right now, that there's not just one person. There are a lot of folks who I can tell you have showed me that it's doable. I can show you families who I'm left one kid I think about right now, Mahari Paul, good example. And I say Mahari Paul as he's still growing. Going through tough times right this moment. But what it was, I met him in eighth grade at ML King. The first time I realized who he was. I think for 2 days in a row, I've been bothering about the footwear, and I was always telling kids, the reason I tell you about your footwear is because if something were to happen and you were in flip-flops, that famous shoe wear back in those days, you could turn and hurt yourself. Or you can, you could get ran over because if something were to happen, anything, or also liability. So I'm having all these reasons. I'm telling him not to wear it. Well, one day he comes in one morning. I'm tired of it, and now at this moment I have to make it. I got to make a statement. The statement was, "Give me those things." I took them and I put them on the side. So now I'll get about 10 minutes later, I get a lady coming to the library at Martin Luther King Junior High School. Who is Mr. Roberts? She lets me know. Who is Mr. Roberts? This is probably 10 years ago. And I said, well, I am, but you give me a second because I'm talking to kids as soon as I'm finished. Well, I go outside and she said, oh, you took my kids' slippers. How dare you take my kids' slippers? And, she was rather angry. But at that moment, her boyfriend, he said, wait a minute. He took what, those flip-flops I told him not to take back to school? And she said, yeah. He said, that's okay, sir. Don't worry about it. Baby, we're just going to leave here because he wasn't supposed to bring those flip-flops anyway. It just told me sometimes if you are consistently who you say you are and you're willing to go through the tough time, the community will support you. And that's the way it's been for me. And that's the part, no matter what it's been, each step of the way, whether it be COVID, we had Mulvaney's B&L pop in and the governor supporting Mulvaney's B&L to do food distribution program, or the school districts say, we heard you're going to stay open. Well, we need some places where our kids can go. They can't go in person, but we heard you actually are trying to do Zoom. We'll work with you. That's how it's been. It's been that way when federal cuts came along. People said, are you impacted by federal cuts? Just a little bit. Well, we'll help you in a little bit you are, but in the meantime, tell us how to help. And it's been that way. And you look at the last, Assemblywoman names us Nonprofit of the Year. We have another
Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you. We're having another honor in about 2 weeks. I'll be able to come back and tell you more about it. It's one of those significant moments when you realize what you're doing has paid off. So those are the reasons I can say to you, in 3 years, not only will Tina and I move to the side, but also we're going to give the keys to a new computer technology center. To the organizational leaders who will take it into the next, and the board members who will make it happen from then. So that's the way I look at this stuff. That's how I move.
And I think the testament is 25 years.
Yeah.
you're here. You're still here.
Yeah.
And you're not going anywhere.
No.
You're growing.
Yeah. Organizationally, we like to think we figured out how to change when need be, how to pull back when necessary, how to give others an opportunity to lead. That's the true piece for me of leadership. Look at the number of organizations and individuals who used to be with Roberts who are now leading activities around the city and within the region. I'm happy. I'm proud.
That's got to be moving just to see people who have come through the school in some way, shape, or form through the development center and see the families engage in their community.
Yeah.
So as a nonprofit executive, you carry it with you all the time.
Yeah.
It never goes away. But there are some...
when I go to Monterey Jazz Festival, I'm actually allowed to be a jazz lover.
Oh, you just gave me one of my questions, because we're about to go beyond the mission for a second to learn a little bit more about Derrell Roberts. And Bryant's going to take notes on these, because I'm sure some of these he doesn't know. But now we know one, Monterey Jazz Festival.
Oh, yeah.
I love it.
My wife loves Monterey. I love Monterey. I love jazz. I grew up in New Orleans. I played music there. I gave it up when I came to California, but I still have a love for jazz. I have a love for music.
Yeah.
I'm a horrible golfer, and I love the game. And I hated every other stroke. So, it's what I like to do, because I can, first of all, I only hang out with people I like.
Yeah.
That's the one thing about me in golf. I do not play with anybody that I don't want to have a relationship with, whoever it is. So if we're playing golf, I really have decided you're all right, because I'm spending 4 hours with you.
Right.
Know, it's 5-6 hours sometime. If you don't like somebody, that's not a good feeling.
Especially if you're not a great golfer.
No. I don't care how good I am. I'm just, if I was a good golfer, it wouldn't matter. But because I'm not a good golfer, it has to matter.
I better enjoy myself some way, shape, or form, right? I can relate to that.
Can laugh at folks.
Okay, so we're going to go through some of these fast.
Cool.
Early bird or night owl? Okay. Favorite color?
Blue-brown.
What's one local place you wish more people knew about?
So I can choose 1227. Food. I like food.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally agree.
Restaurants. Yep.
Okay. When you were a kid growing up in New Orleans, what'd you want to be?
Policeman, journalist, and a superhero. Gotta know.
Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Daily or weekly habit that keeps you sane? I know it's not golf.
Hanging out with my wife.
Love it.
Yeah, I think I'm real fortunate. I have somebody who seems to like me, and I like her a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That just got you big points. Tina's loving this. We're gonna cut this out just for you.
Yeah.
Well, who is somebody that helped shape how you lead? We were just talking about that.
Oh, man. There's so many. I am serious. I'm looking at my grandfather, Edmund St. Cyr. I'm looking at my dad in his later years, because the first two marriages, he's horrible at it. The last marriage,
figured it out.
Oh man,
third time's a charm.
Well, and he had God in his life, so you start realizing, there's a way to make this work.
Yeah.
And you can still be a nice guy, fun loving, and all those things, but you're focused in a different way. And he was that way. Politically, Grantland Johnson. Grantland was really interesting, because the funny thing I always learned about Grantland, it was late at everything, but he always was on time when he got there. He took care of business. So when he got there, people expected him to do whatever he agreed to do. So I find that as being really as important. When you show up, show up.
Show up.
Yeah, show up.
What do you hope people feel after spending some time with you or the organization? What do they take away?
That we care.
Love it.
Yeah, that we care. I mean, that to me means more than anything else. Sometimes I get challenged by people who don't understand that's the simple stuff. It doesn't take a whole hell of a lot. Sometimes it just takes to understand what the person is going through. And I recognize for me to have all these rules and I can't do this or I can't do that, when all a person really needs me to be able to say is, I care about what you're trying to say, what you're trying to do. Let me see if I can help you.
Mm-hmm. Any surprises, Bryant?
I did hear, I'm trying to remember which one it was, but I did hear a surprise on there. And I lost it. I can't remember what it was. When I
Good
think
news,
about
it's
it,
recorded.
Yeah, so when I watch it back to them and say, "Oh, I didn't know that about you."
And then last one, what are you grateful for today?
I am grateful that I came from an environment that many people didn't think it's possible to do well. And through each step, and again, it goes to family, through people, extended and biological family members helping me along the way. And it's made it really easy for me to be willing to help people along the way because the example was there. So having those examples of what it's like to be helped.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm grateful for that. I really am.
Thank you.
Grateful. Yeah.
Now, if somebody wants to support the organization, what's the best way for them to either get in touch or learn more?
You can go robertsfdc.org, www.robertsfdc.org. If you really want to do it, robertsfdc.org/donate. And, because that's the part that people don't get. Whatever you hear me talking about, it costs. It costs to serve. It costs to provide mental health services. It costs to provide food.
Great employees. It costs to have.
Oh, hell. I mean, it's, to keep quality people.
Yep.
And that's key. So for me, I would rather, and I talk to anybody who's thinking that they'd rather go someplace else. One, I'm going to tell you the truth. Very few places you're ever going to meet where persons care about you as a person. Mm-hmm. And we will tell you we care about the people for us, work with us, because that's what it's about. Once they get to that point, they're working with us. It's that. So finances, my wife and I laughed about that. That's what people hear from us. They say, "You're always begging." Let me tell you what I am. I'm a professional mendicant. Patrick Mulvaney's dad, Jim Mulvaney, used to jokingly say to me, being a biblical beggar, a mendicant, being a biblical beggar was the one thing about me that he liked. He said, because when you approached me about funding support, it was for all the right reasons. Mm-hmm. And you never said anything about you. I said, well, I didn't think I was supposed to say anything about me. It was about who we were serving. Mm-hmm. So for me, that's what it becomes. It's somebody said, "Oh, you'd be a great salesman." Nah, I couldn't sell anything to anybody. And, but when it comes down to this work, it's easy for me to explain to people why it matters.
Yeah, it's a belief. It's not a sales pitch. No. Not in any way, shape, or form. Well, I have to say, thank you for what you and Tina started 25 years ago, what it means to the community, what it has caused to happen to the benefit of the community is significant. You are changing lives for families, one child at a time, by the variety of programs that you've got in so many different ways. So thank you to your entire team of 40 plus who are making it happen. Bryant, thank you for being here and being a part of this conversation too, because you are the future of the organization. And it's people like you who are going to take these things to the next level to continue to serve the community in the way that it's been served in whatever that contemporary fashion is going to look like 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now. We know it'll be AI influenced at least in some way.
It will be.
So I appreciate you both coming in today.
Thank you.
And let's go make something better.
Thank you, Jeff. Appreciate you.
Thank you for listening to the Nonprofit Podcast Network. We hope today's episode inspired you and gave you a deeper look into the work of our local nonprofits. If you believe in our mission to amplify their voices, please take a moment to leave us a positive review and share this episode with a friend. It helps more people discover the incredible work happening in our community. Don't miss future episodes. Subscribe to our weekly updates and monthly newsletter at nonprofpod.com. And if you're a part of a nonprofit that would like to be featured, we'd love to hear from you. Just visit the Guest tab on our website. The Nonprofit Podcast Network is recorded and produced at Hear Me Now Studio, with generous support from our partners, CapTrust, fiduciary advice for endowments and foundations, online at captrust.com. Western Health Advantage, local care with community impact. Find the plan that fits at westernhealth.com. CORE, executive leadership and comprehensive support services. Visit cxore.com. And 5 Star Bank, a local trusted advisor to community nonprofits for over 25 years. 5starbank.com. And finally, our episode sponsor, Sacramento Venture Philanthropy, a community of generosity combining people, expertise, and capital for good. svpsacramento.org.